Okay, so we are starting this webinar today to, explore the audit and GRC careers and how, CISA certification helps in that particular career shaping. We are joined by our guest, Mr. Saaz Rai, who is accomplished trainer for both ISACA and ISC2, right? This is an initiative by myself. I'm Col Subhajeet, and we are exploring the information and cybersecurity landscape. We are aiming to train more people over a period of time, and make this opportunity available to both professionals who are planning to switch from IT to information security, professionals who are planning to build a career in information and cybersecurity, and also aimed at a lot of armed forces veterans or transitioning uh, you know uh, your brothers and sisters who would like to make a career in information security audit and GRC rules. Okay, so with this brief introduction, we will start our today's agenda. So what is the IS and GRC audit, career landscape? Now, when we look at this particular landscape, over the last 2 years since I have come out in the outside world, and I've been researching into what kind of career growth is there in information security, I see a huge amount of job demand. There is a huge amount of roles which are being offered in the information security audit and governance, risk management, and compliance space. So there's definitely a big growth demand. Just to understand what is the demand, go to LinkedIn or any other uh, you know uh, career portal and just type information security GRC roles. You will see it's not only limited to India; it's a internationally, I'll say, a very very role in demand. Two reasons. First reason is uh, if you look at this field is not more than 10 years old, right? This is a decade old, uh, I will say, a professional stream compared to if you look at financial audit, if you look at safety audits, you look at aviation audit. Aviation is a almost 60, 70-year old industry. Information security, though, is a very very old industry, but the moment the convergence of IT and information has happened, what has happened is a lot of governance, risk management, and compliance issues have come into the picture. So this space is not a very very, I'll say, a matured space. Now, since it's not a very matured space, things are developing over a period of time. Things are now reaching, everybody is trying to understand what is happening in this space. Compliances are rolling in. A lot of crime is happening. You see social media crime, cyber crime. In fact, I went to a police station recently. I had work, and they started discussing me, and they said, there's no crime in this particular where I live. There's no crime in this district. The major crime is cyber crime. Okay, so everything is changing because of increased network speeds, all information available to you on your handheld devices. So somewhere down the line, we have seen that organizations are trying to understand how this particular landscape is evolving, and that's why there is a growing job demand in this particular space to understand how to tackle this security issue, and also at the same time how to audit your own systems, how to create processes and policies and ensure that there is no information leakage or information attack from the networked space which we are in there today, right? So that was the small understanding of why there is a growing job demand. There is an industry specific demand. What is the industry specific demand? If you look at information security today, all industries are going through a digital revolution space. If you look at how things are delivered to you at your home, how you order food, how you order vegetables, you look at any space, right? Everything is available to you on demand. So what is happening is, whether it's the manufacturing sector, or is it the OT sector, or is it the aviation, heavy machinery industry, everyone is dependent on internet and the networks. And that's where the audit and the GRC functioning differs from industry specific requirements. Look at airlines. Airlines had a major, I'll say, downtime recently with the fog in Delhi. What happened was Are there any information flow aspects which could have been met in a much more better synergized manner, so that what happened on our Delhi airport situation could have been tackled more interestingly, because it was an availability, I'll say it is an availability tag. Airlines was not able to meet its timelines, and somewhere down the line the information was not percolated down properly, and there was a huge commotion with that. So how to manage information also becomes part of your information, GRC and audit space. Not only protecting ourselves, but making it available. Your systems making it available to your customers on time also require a certain amount of governance, risk management, and compliance requirements to meet your throughput and required SLAs. There are diverse roles. I've seen industry, and I'm looking at how roles are developing in the Middle East, because Middle East is more oil and gas centric. So there are roles in the OT sector. We look at manufacturing sector, wherein you are dependent on a lot of again IoT OT devices. You look in the software sector. You look at the financial sector. So there's an increased role definition, and people who understand information and cybersecurity risk comparatively, when I see the understanding of information and cyber risk is very, very low at this point in time with most of the newcomers. But those who have seen the evolution from the 90s to the 2000s to the 2010 and now in the 2020s, they understand the system. Now, once they understand the systems, they also understand the risk. They also understand the attack surface through which your systems can become vulnerable. Now, if you look at the IT and IS information security and audit GRC landscape, it becomes very diverse. It becomes highly diverse, because if you are manufacturing a EV, you are concerned. If you are manufacturing uh, anything today, you are concerned, because everything is networked. Okay, and threats are evolving on a daily basis. Threats are changing on a daily basis, and that's where roles are very, very diverse in nature. High demand skills, you need to understand cybersecurity in technical languages. You need to understand, though it doesn't require much of any programming or per se, you need to understand risks. You need to understand the compliance frameworks. You need to see that all your requirements for protecting your information are in place. Okay. Major qualifications in demand is definitely CISA, okay, Certified Information Systems Auditor, and CISSP are the two major certifications in demand for this, landscape. Salary ranges from entry level salaries ranges from 6 to 9 lakh per annum to as high as 60 to 80 lakhs per annum for CISOs, VCISOs, and directors, right? Job location is pretty flexible. You can work anywhere in the world. You can work, I think remotely. You can work on premise. You can work hybrid. So there's a lot of flexibility in job locations, and there is a huge amount of remote opportunity available in information security audit and GRC landscape. Roles are evolving on a daily basis. There could be compliance analysts, there could be risk managers, there could be internal audit teams, there could be external audit teams, and there's plethora of roles available, and roles are evolving on a daily basis. Industry specific compliances are coming on a specific basis. Okay. So if you look at the audit importance, audit is important to identify and assess your risk. Having compliance in place, you have to have internal controls. You need to prepare your organization for incident response, and gain third-party assurance, because you're dependent on a lot of third parties for your organization to function, right? And there is a continuous improvement in your processes which is required, which can only be brought in if there is audit in place, whether internal or external. And a lot of stakeholder importance comes in if you have investors at place, if you have business relations in place. Uh, Audit is required to maintain that stakeholder importance, right? It also helps in identifying vulnerabilities at a very, very early stage, so that you are proactively trying to meet those vulnerabilities. Okay. Now, how do you shape your career in GRC and audit? Uh, if you are, I'm saying, if you're just starting off, you are in the IT space, you have not come into the audit space, or you're already in the audit space, okay, you are a risk analyst, a risk manager. Few certifications I feel are inescapable in today's timelines. Okay. One is the CISA. If you are in the audit and GRC space, CISA is inescapable. If you are slightly technical, if you're looking at more diverse roles, we definitely recommend anybody who does CISA, CISM, we recommend CISSP to be done. So we understand that today's industry requirement is definitely CISA and CISSP, and these are the two certifications which help you. But once you look at information security audit and GRC roles, I personally feel that CISA is one of the better certifications to go for if you're planning to make a career in, audit and governance, risk management, and compliance. CISSP, slightly more technical. You can maneuver towards more technical roles if you would like to become, security architects or security managers. Then CISSP is more suitable. Uh, you have to have, continuously improve your skills. You have to attend seminars. There are a lot of information which is available across the board. There are a lot of seminars happening every day. Okay, and it's a continuous learning process. So with that in mind, we keep bringing up these webinars and make you aware that what could be the possible career landscape in different roles, right? We have with us today Saaz. Saaz has been there with us almost a year now, and he's established ISACA and ISC2 trainer. He's very experienced in the field of both education and IT. He has held multiple roles. He's been a CTO of an organization, and now he is completely into training vertical. Okay, he holds multiple certifications, CISA, CISSP, CCSP, all the key certifications he holds. Got more than 19 years of experience in the industry, and I think he's a qualified hand in tackling how to handle the CISA certification. I hand over the proceedings to Saaz. Saaz, it's all yours now, and you can please enlighten the participants on how to tackle CISA. I'll make you the host now. Okay, so you have the host rights now.
All right, thank you so much. I think I've got a host. I will share my screen. Just a moment. Okay, is my screen visible? All right, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Again, this is my brief introduction. Again, I have over 2 decades of experience. Yeah, so different roles, different industries. I am an authorized instructor for ISC2 and ISACA. And so and let's focus now exactly on what to expect on CISA. What are the expectations? How do you prepare for it, and so on. Well, to begin with, if you're studying for your CISA, we need to be familiar with ISACA. ISACA has been around for a long time, and in fact, their first certification course is CISA, which has been around again for a really long time, I think more than 40-50 years now. And after which there are other certification courses which if you're interested in, you can probably consider it. But today the focus is going to be on CISA, which is the Certified Information Systems Auditor. But just be aware of some of the other certificate, like CISM is very popular. CIRIS is something I highly recommend to anybody, any security professional, because managing risk is a key responsibility of any information security professional. And if anybody is interested in the governance of enterprise IT, so this is that course for them. Anyway, so I will focus on the CISA here today, which is the Certified Information Systems Auditor course. And so the first question is what to expect on the CISA exam. Okay. Well, it's not an exam to test your IT security. It's not a technician's course. Okay, it's not a financial auditor exam. Okay, so the course is going to focus on the auditing principles that you learn in the field of information technology. Okay, So it is a slightly, I would say, a mixture of the auditor's perspective, the mindset of an auditor, where you mix it with the knowledge, your technical knowledge, and be able to guide, able to audit and assess the controls and ensure that the controls are meeting business rules and business objectives. So, like I said, this is not going to be a technician exam in the sense. It's not going to you don't have to like how to configure firewall or how to fix a printer kind of a thing. It's not that kind of a course. It's not in financial auditor course, but like I said, the principles around auditing is something that you may have to understand as to, like, for example, how do we go about auditing, the broader concept about let's say the methodologies around auditing. Like, you may have to interview people, you may have to observe, uh, you may have to kind of sample and so on. So there's so many things we need to do. So we need to understand those concepts, but again, mixing that with the knowledge on information technology and ensuring that the expected controls are in place, right? Now, what do we study? So there are 5 domains. Domain 1 is the information systems auditing process. Now those who take the exam for CISA, there are usually, I'd put them in 3 buckets, and you can tell me you belong to which bucket. Okay, you can mention 1, 2, 3. So the first bucket is people coming from a purely financial auditing background, like they are CAs, or, well, they do not have much idea about information technology. Okay, but they're very good at auditing. They understand some of the auditing principles. They've been done that auditing, but they're not really hands-on with the information technology. So that's bucket number 1. So if you belong to that, you mentioned in the chat window. Bucket number 2 is somebody who's come from a purely technical background, so they have a very good knowledge about technology, okay, firewalls, of cryptography, and so on, but never done any audit before. So auditing is something very new to them. So if you belong to that group, mention 2 on the chat window. And the third group is, well, who is an IS auditor, right? Who is an IS auditor? So those who've been working on, let's say, companies like Deloitte or EY or so on, and they're already doing that IS audit, but really wants to understand from the CISA perspective. So that's a third category. And while you ideally want to be in the third category, but most of the time you may be in the first or the second category. But having said that, if you're in the first category where you understand audit, so this might be a little familiar with the concept behind auditing and the roles and responsibilities and so on, the practices. So that's what this domain 1 is about. So those who are, again, coming from a technical background, you'll have to understand a lot of auditing concepts around this. Like, what's an audit charter, right? Whom should auditors report to, and so on, right? So domain 1, I think, is an important one. Again, 21% is a huge, I think, is a big number there. Okay, I can see many of you coming from the bucket number 2, coming from the technical background. Okay. So domain 2 is governance and management of IT. Again, this is not specific to the knowledge of auditing, but it's a very generic knowledge that an information security professional must have. And usually a slightly difficult concept to understand. Like, for example, what is governance? What is management? What's the difference? Who is responsible or accountable for governance? And who's accountable for management? Okay, so this is a slightly, I think, so many people find this a little difficult to understand if you've not been into management. So we talk about the roles of board of directors, the roles of CEOs, or the senior management, and so on, the roles of an auditor. And so it's important for you to understand, like, if there's, like, for example, if an organization does not have a policy, well, that's a governance issue. If the policy has not been communicated properly, people are not aware. There's a policy, but nobody's aware of it. There's no training happening. Again, a governance issue. If the policy has not been reviewed over a period of time, again, a governance issue, right? So as auditors, you need to be able to understand these things and be able to highlight that, hey, there's a governance issue here, or there's a management issue. And we need to maybe train people. We may need to kind of review our policies or standards and guidelines and so on. So domain two is very interesting in that sense. Again, it's nothing very specific to audit. I think anybody who's into the space of information security management or IT management needs to understand governance and management of IT. The third is the information systems acquisition, development, and implementation. This is a slightly smaller domain, relatively smaller domain, but it's not very difficult though. So you talk about the systems, the SDLC, okay, and so we go about the SDLC, the waterfall model, or this agile, and so on. And the question is, what's auditor doing here in this SDLC? Right? Is auditors going to be involved in developing the system? And the answer is no. So remember, the audit is an assurance function. Let me write it down here. Is an assurance function. And your job is to, as an auditor, is to kind of review what the team is doing, the development team. Are they following the processes? You're going to go there and you're going to kind of review and give your comment and feedback and report on what they're doing. Okay. So the question is, will you review this after the SDLC, after the product has been developed? Well, the answer is no, because that'll be very too late, right? That'll be too late. So you want to be able to review along with what's being done. You're going to review the policies, the practices. You're going to be attending those meetings and give your feedback. And if any course correction is required, you will do that immediately. Okay, so that's what this is about. So you have to be involved. You need to understand the processes. You got to be able to give your recommendations so that any course correction needed, that can be done immediately. So that's what this domain 3 is. A shorter domain, interesting one though. So you need to understand the entire SDLC process. So for me, so to become an auditor, you really need to be an expert on various controls. You're a controls expert. You need to know what is right, what is wrong, because you're going to be able to identify the gaps, identify the issues, and be able to recommend what needs to be done. So if you are aware of something called 3 lines of defense, the auditors are the 3rd line of defense, right? They're going to be the first line, it belongs to the front line, the business, the second line, the risk management team, and 3rd line is the auditor. So they are going to be, as an auditor is going to be making sure, like I said, they're an assurance function, making sure that whatever is happening as per what is expected. Okay, and so the auditors are the eyes and ears for the board of directors, for the senior leadership. So yeah, so that's domain 3. Domain 4 is information systems, operations, and business resilience. Now, this is very interesting. Again, this particular domain. Okay, so why do we need information systems? Okay, so again, that's a governance question, a governance management question. Why do we need information systems? Well, the answer is so that we can fulfill, or we can meet the governance. So we can meet we can support the organization and meet its goals and objectives, right? So let's say, for example, why do we need let's say, a mobile app, e-commerce app? Well, we want to make sure it meets whatever the business goals are. or we need a ERP system or a customer management system, or we need a cloud, whatever. So it's all about meeting the organization's goals and objectives. And if there is any disruption to that system, what's going to happen? Well, the organization is not likely to meet those goals and objectives. So that's why it's important to ensure we have a very resilient operations. And for that, the organization might have, let's say, an incident management team. They might have business continuity, disaster recovery, and all those processes, right? There may be some kind of high availability and to monitor single point of failures and all the stuff. And so while you have those processes in place, the question is it adequate? Now, who's going to determine that? Well, it's the auditors, right? So auditors, again, needs to have a very good knowledge about all these things. What is incident management team? Are they operating efficiently? And the processes, is it adequate? Right? Or BCDR, is the testing happening properly? Is the plans being updated? Is everybody involved? So maybe yes, maybe no, we don't know. So it's the auditor who has to determine that and report on that. Okay. So it's a very interesting one. And the final domain is domain 5, protection of information assets. Is a slightly bigger domain as well. Having said that, those who again come from a purely technical background will probably find it's a lot more easier to understand. It's a slightly technical background, technical domain in the sense that you need to understand concepts such as, let's say, cryptography. Okay, it's quite a technical domain that ways, or many other things like firewalls and IDS, IPS, and all the stuff, IAMs, and so on. So slightly, I think, technical. This one, again, those coming purely from the auditing background will probably have to focus on this domain. It's a fairly technical background in that sense, and it's a slightly bigger one. I think most people find this a little more difficult, this domain. But again, it's not a very, like said, it's not a technician course like we have to go about how to go about doing things and how to go about configuring firewall, and so that's nothing but that. But you need to understand the what and the why. Let me write it down here. You need to what and the why rather than the how. Okay, no, not the how. So for example, should we use an IDS or an IPS? Why should we use an IPS? Why use an IDS? So whatever it is, rather than how do we configure a firewall or how do we configure for IDS, IPS. So we're not going to talk about the how. So it's all about learning the principles. So as an auditor, you should be able to look at those controls and say, okay, is this adequate? Should there have been an IDS instead of an IPS? And so on, right? So, and you should be able to recommend saying, okay, probably you should have an IDS instead of an IPS, or have a DLP solution or a SIEM solution, or whatever the need of the business is. So that covers all 5 domains. It's a lot more in depth. If you compare with some course like a CISSP, CISSP is a lot broader. I mean, a lot of topics you need to learn, but CISSP lacks the depth. It doesn't go into a lot of details. So here there are 5 domains, less number of domains, but it does have a lot of depth. So you really need to understand the concepts. Okay, so that's why the exams are slightly difficult here. So that's the overall. If you have any questions around, this, you can, do ask. Now, there's something I want you to be aware of. Just a second. You can go here. I've shared the link. Again, if you're interested in what, well, CISA, all the details are here. Well, there are 2 things I want you to be aware of. The study materials are here. But before that, yeah, the study materials. So yeah, so you probably have two things. You probably want us. One is the book. Okay, it's I think it's the 27th edition. You can have a print version or the online version. Okay, whatever is your convenience. And they also have this Q&A database, over 1,000 questions, which is again very useful. The exam will not give you the same questions, but the concept is the same. Okay, so once you answer these questions and learn about it, I think this will help you prepare for the exam. I think you'll be quite confident. If you, let's say, over a period of time, you score, let's say, 70 or 80% regularly, then you're in a good position to take the exam. Okay, and also if you can also take this exam guide and you can download, I think this is interesting. So this is going to tell you about how to go about registering for the exam and rescheduling it and so on. So this is something that later on you can probably consider it. But for now, like I said, you will probably need to know what to expect in the exam, right? It's not a technician exam. Like I said, many people coming from a very technical background, you'll have to change your mindset. You have to come to the auditor's perspective. Okay, you have to wear the auditor's shoe and understand, okay, I need to understand this concept, these principles. Because if you don't know the concepts and the principles, then you really cannot point fingers, right? Right. So for example, let me ask you a question. As an auditor, you come across, let's say, a cloud account, and they all used, and the account was it was a shared account, like administrator account. So what would be the biggest concern as an auditor that you'll highlight? Try to put it on the chat window. You see a shared account being used. What could be the biggest concern that you will highlight as an auditor? Like a shared username password being used. Okay. Yeah. So what is the biggest concern? You can send it to me. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. Very nice. Because you need to understand what the issue is, and also being able to you should be able to kind of recommend what is right, what should be done, right? For example, an administrator account is being used by 5 different people in the organization. So what would be the biggest concern? And the answer is accountability. Very nice, because you'll probably sign admin 1, administrator logged in at 10 a.m. Administrator deleted an account at 10:30. Administrator installed the software at 11 o'clock, whatever. But which administrator did that, right? So accountability would be a biggest concern here. And the following which also there is non-repudiation. So as an auditor, like this is a simple example, you need to be able to see through these issues and be able to highlight and say, okay, here is a problem. And so make sure you do not use shared credentials. All right, something like that. So just to give you an idea. So I have shared this with you, and like I said, you probably need to understand this. And so, like I said, there are these 2 materials: the review manual, which I highly recommended, and the Q&A, which is again highly recommended. Okay, so that'll help you prepare for the exam. Okay, so coming very quickly, I think we're running out of time. So we'll quickly kind of talk about it. Benefits of CISA certification. Again, expands your knowledge, skills, build confidence, increase your market value. CISA is in huge demand. It's a difficult exam. It's not easy. So if you're a CISA, then you're in huge demand. It builds customer confidence. So if you have clients, if you have customers, and they know there is a CISA certified professional working in that organization, there's certainly a lot of credibility there. And many times, many organizations, it's a requirement. Like I teach a lot of, I work for Deloitte and EY and KPMG. So again, it's one of their key requirement for the employees to become CISA certified. So what's the process? So you got to obviously prepare, we get ready for the exam. That's where we come in. We help you with that. Okay, if you attend our sessions, that's starting, I think, in Feb. So that's where you kind of register. And once you register for the exam, once you prepare, you register for the exam, and you pay for the exam fees, and hopefully you pass the exam then. But you're not a CISA yet. There's a small documentation process that you need to do. It's not very difficult. It's a small form that you need to fill up. The point here is that you need to prove that you have 5 years of experience. It's not a very difficult one. If you have some if you have some experience letter, or you can get one from HR saying that I've been working in this organization for the last whatever years, so that should be good enough. And then you are CISA certified. Okay. Now you don't have to have an auditor's experience. Now I'm not an auditor. Okay, I've not worked as an auditor ever. So, but I have my experience has been as a, let's say, as a CTO or as a VPIT and so on. I have to obviously work with the auditors and be compliant with various regulations such as RBI, IRDAI, and so on, PCI DSS, and so on. And so I never had to say that I was an auditor. Okay, so if I worked on those domains around, I mean, if you out of those 5 domains, like into management or business continuity and all the stuff, that is sufficient. Okay. Anyway, so once you're certified, then you need to keep on earn the CPEs. I think there's about 40 CPEs you need to earn every year. You need to pay some maintenance fee. I think it's about $50 every year. And if you do so, then you're certified, because the certificate is only valid for 3 years. And if you do so, the certificate will be renewed every 3 years automatically. If you may lose your certificate, again, if you fail to earn the CPEs, you may have to, if you don't pay those maintenance fees, and also if you violate any of their ethics, and then you can lose the certificate. Okay, so you don't want to do that, right? You don't want to do that. How do you prepare for the exam? Now, like I said, this is again, we have to be familiar with those concepts. It's a very conceptual exam. You need to understand what to do, what is the right thing to do. Okay, so the only way you can do is by understanding these concepts. You can study. As like I said, I've given you those 2 materials that you can probably consider. You can join our boot camp. I'll be happy to help you understand those concepts. And then self-assess, again, those 1,000 exam questions. If you practice them, I think that should be good enough. And if you consistently score about 70-80%, then you're quite ready to take the exam. It's going to be an iterative study, which means, well, because of so much to understand, right? And so you're going to have to study over and over again, make your notes. You may have, because you have to put that knowledge that you learn into your long-term storage, right? So you're going to have to keep on studying, iterative study. Avoid cramming. Okay, you're not going to pass the exam. There are no dumps that you can mug up and kind of pass the exam. It's a very conceptually, you have to understand the concept. And so if you're crammed, then you're going to fail the exam. Find a study group. Again, you can join, I think you can join the group here, the WhatsApp group and so on. I think that's useful. You can find any other groups. The ISACA has a group as well. You can join them. You can, it's always find that partner. Maybe you can, join a group. Maybe one person, studies domain one, the other person is domain two, and you can maybe teach each other as well. I find that very useful, but it's up to you how you want to do it. But it's always beneficial to find a study group. And yeah, so that's it. So that these are my recommendations. Okay, and yeah, so any questions we could probably I'll be happy to take on here. Okay, so there's a question: does CISA encompass anything on cloud auditing functionality? The answer is no. So CISA will talk about broad concepts around the controls around information security. There's nothing specific for the cloud, but having said that, the kind of controls what we discuss can extend to the cloud as well, but nothing specific to the cloud as such. It doesn't say that for cloud you have to do this and do that. But the principle, like I said, I give an example of that shared account. Now that account could be in the cloud or elsewhere else, but nothing specific to the cloud. If you want to kind of talk about auditing cloud, then you probably think about CCAK. This is another course. You may want to consider that. Okay. But here we'll talk about basic generic concepts around auditing principles. Okay, like BCP, DRP. So we may use the cloud for that, but nothing specific to the cloud. Okay, how to there's a question says how to gain practical experience of working after qualifying CISA exam. Well, okay, so some of the things you can do is again try to get a job, right? So that's a possibility, or maybe volunteer. And there are lots of resources that we will be sharing with you around, let's say, how does a SOC reports look like, audit reports look like. So you can go around doing those things. But like you said, you probably will have to go around kind of like volunteering or kind of or maybe joining an organization where you can gain those experience. Is it mandate to have minimum 5 years of experience to get a CISA certification? Yes, absolutely yes. So 5 years of experience is necessary. Like I said, it's not that you need to have been working as an auditor. Okay, I told you I'm not an auditor as such, but around those concepts, if you've been around, let's say, protecting information assets, which I'm sure you've been doing, or business continuity and incident management, or all those concepts, or SDLC, whatever, those experience should suffice. But yes, 5 years is needed. How much time is required to clear the exam, considering daily 1 hour of focused study? Again, it's 1 hour of focused study. So my thumb rule is 3 months. Okay. My thumb rule is 3 months in the sense that I want, so let's say there are 5 domains. And so if you can cover maybe maybe a fortnight, 2 weeks per domain. Okay. Or even if you say you're going to spend more time and say, okay, I can finish one domain per week. But let's say 2 domains, so it's about 10 weeks. Yeah, so 10 weeks is about 2.5 months. Okay. or so maybe 2 months around, you see you're going to study all those domains, and maybe another 1 month to do the complete review. So again, it depends on how much time you can put in yourself. I would recommend little more than 1 hour because it's quite an intensive course. It also depends on your experience, on your current level of knowledge. But I don't recommend anything for like people say, I'm going to study today and take the exam, maybe, in the next 1 year or 2 years. So what happens is that by then you have forgotten a lot of concepts. Okay. So I don't recommend that. I want you to take the exam now when the iron is hot, because otherwise you go into that iterative mode where you study, and after a few months you forget, you can study, forget, and so on. It goes into that loop. Don't do that. So just focus on it, and you will need that support. You will need to put in that hard work. There is no substitute for hard work. And what we can do, I think, what will definitely happen is when you join some of the training sessions, you know what to focus on. So your learning will be that period will be drastically reduced. So you know exactly where to focus on, what is important, what is not. So that ways you can even take the exams sooner. What are the prerequisites for this? Is no, this is not necessary. As I mentioned, you only need the 5 years of experience. There is no other certification. Nothing is required for that. Okay. Just 5 years experience. You need to be able to, let's say, get a, if you're your previous work experience, or if you're currently working, you just get a letter from the HR saying this person has been working in this role for the past whatever, since whatever it is. So that should suffice. No other certification is needed. Yeah, so exam fees for CISA, it actually depends. I think there are two types of fees. One is for a member, the other is for a non-member. Okay, so I think the members fees around $575, $575, and for non-members it's $760. Okay, so the question is, should you become a member? And the answer is yes. I think membership fee is about $140 or $150 almost. So it's beneficial if you become a member because you get a lot of other benefits. You get a lot of, let's say, a lot of free materials. You get a lot of discounted fees for other things as well. So I would recommend that you become a member, and then pay that 575. So yeah, that's it. So you and study materials would be separate if you want to buy it. This is just the exam fees, 575. It's a slightly expensive exam, so you want to get it right, right? All right. Any other questions? All right. So I don't see any questions. So over to you, Subhajeet. Would you like to take
Yeah,
over?
Yeah, thanks, Sas. Thank you so much. Thank you for this session. You brought out things pretty well. So my aim was to basically, get to people to understand. So there are a lot of people who are, these days saying let's do CISA. I feel that this industry right now is at a juncture where, very few people know how to, manage the risks, how to actually navigate. So, but I've seen CISA is a very good certification. If you gain that knowledge and get into an audit and GRC role, I see a lot of people doing pretty well, and it gives a definitely a different perspective to your career, right? Uh, my aim is not to say that let's do CISA, CISSP, CISM and go and do that job. No, you acquire that knowledge and then apply that knowledge in your profession. That is what gets you the edge which you require in your career. Thank you, Saz. Thank you so much for your time, and balance things. Ghazal will get in touch with all of you and let you explain to you if you are ready to join course with Saz. Saz is a very, very acclaimed, instructor, though he's not a very social media savvy person. But if you go and check out his profile on LinkedIn or on, you know, uh, Simply Learn. He teaches for Simply Learn. He has got packed batches on Simply Learn. It's very difficult to get hands on him. If you would like to get more information on our course, get on. You can get in touch with us on your number, or you can also visit our website. Okay, no compulsions or nothing. I feel this exam, if you have enough time, you can do it yourself. It's something which experienced people can do it. The only thing is the motivation and somebody to probably show you the path and show the right approach, rather than, because when I was doing certifications there was very little information available. So if there was someone to show me the path, it makes the task much more easier. Thank you, Sas. Thank you for this, and thank you, Ghazal, and thank you all for joining on a Sunday morning, and hope it was informative and helps you in your profession and your career. Thank you all. Let's end this. Thanks, Raghuvi. Thank you. Bye.